The Long Walk on Titanfall 3. A Sci-Fi Story. Part 1. The Storm That Took the Rover. Methane sleet hammered the visor of Dr. Mara Astra's helmet, turning the world into a smear of static and shadow. The storm howled across the frozen dunes like a living thing, clawing at her suit, dragging her sideways with every gust. She dug her crampons into the ice-crusted slope and hauled herself upward, one agonizing step at a time. "Rover? Where's the rover?" she gasped, but her voice was swallowed by the storm. The last thing she remembered clearly was the ground buckling beneath them. A tremor, a crack, the rover's stabilizers failing, and then the whiteout swallowed everything. She'd been thrown, tumbling down a dune of frozen methane crystals sharp enough to shred fabric. Her suit integrity warning still blinked a furious amber in the corner of her HUD. Suit power, 6 hours remaining oxygen reserves. Nominal external temperature, minus 178 degrees Celsius. She forced herself to breathe slowly. Panic wasted heat. Panic wasted power. Somewhere above her, a faint beacon pulsed through the storm. The base's emergency locator, or so she hoped. But the signal kept drifting, sliding across her HUD like a mirage. Every few minutes it jumped several degrees east or west, as if someone were dragging the transmitter across the moon's surface. Or something. She pushed that thought away and climbed. The separation. "Mara. Mara, do you copy?" The voice crackled through her comms, distorted by interference but unmistakable. Dr. Keon Raddick, team lead, geologist, and the only person stubborn enough to keep shouting into a methane hurricane. "I'm here," she shouted. "Keon, I'm here." Static swallowed her words. She adjusted her antenna, slapped the side of her helmet, and tried again. "Keon, I'm alive. Where are you?" A burst of noise. Then, down. "Ravine. Suit compromised. Can't." The signal cut. Mara clenched her jaw. She scanned the storm-shrouded landscape. Titanfall 3's surface was a labyrinth of frozen dunes, jagged ice shelves, and methane geysers that erupted without warning. Even in calm weather, navigation was hellish. In a storm like this, it was suicide. But she had no choice. She activated her suit's emergency locator. A thin blue line appeared on her HUD, pointing toward Keon's last transmission. She followed it, leaning into the wind, boots crunching through brittle methane frost. Every step felt like walking through molasses. Her suit motors strained. Her breath fogged the inside of her visor. She kept moving. The ravine. She found Keon 20 minutes later, half buried in a drift at the edge of a narrow ravine. His suit lights flickered weakly, casting a sickly glow across the ice. "Keon!" she shouted, sliding down beside him. He stirred, groaning. "Mara, thank God. Thought the storm took you." "Almost did." She checked his vitals. His suit had a deep gash along the left side, exposing the inner insulation. Emergency sealant had slowed the leak, but not stopped it. "Suit integrity at 42%, she muttered. "You're losing heat fast." "Feels like it," he said through chattering teeth. "Where's the rover?" "Gone. Storm flipped it or buried it. I can't tell." Keon cursed under his breath. "And the others?" "No signal. Either out of range or, worse." He didn't ask her to clarify. He didn't need to. Mara helped him to his feet. He swayed but stayed upright. "Base beacon's still active," she said. "But the signal keeps shifting." "Shifting?" Keon frowned. "Could be storm interference." "Maybe. But it's moving too consistently. Like it's being carried." Keon's expression darkened. "Carried by what?" She didn't answer. The long walk begins. They climbed out of the ravine together, tethered by a safety line. The storm had eased slightly, enough for Mara to see the faint outline of the frozen dunes stretching toward the horizon. The beacon pulsed somewhere beyond them, a dim star in a sea of darkness. "Distance?" Keon asked. 23 kilometers. He let out a low whistle. "On foot. with failing suits. Yeah. Then we'd better start walking. They set off across the dunes, their boots crunching through layers of frozen methane. The wind carved ripples across the surface, sculpting the landscape into shifting waves of ice. Every few minutes, a geyser erupted in the distance, a plume of methane vapor shooting 100 meters into the air before crystallizing and falling like glittering snow. Titanfall 3 was beautiful, in a way that made Mara's chest ache. Beautiful and deadly. After an hour, Keon's breathing grew ragged. Suit temp dropping, he said. Down to -120 internal. Keep moving, Mara urged. Movement generates heat. Movement also burns power. She checked her HUD. He was right. Their suit power was dropping faster than expected. Suit power. 4 hours remaining. At this rate, they wouldn't make it. Unless the beacon stopped moving. Unless the storm died. Unless a miracle happened. Mara didn't believe in miracles. The first bridge. The dunes gave way to a vast chasm, its edges jagged and unstable. A thin ice bridge spanned the gap, a translucent sheet of frozen methane no thicker than a dinner plate. Keon stared at it. You've got to be kidding. It's the only way across, Mara said. That thing won't hold our weight. It might. And if it doesn't? She looked down into the chasm. The bottom was lost in darkness. The fall would kill them instantly. We don't have time to find another route, she said. The storm's shifting the dunes. This bridge might not exist in an hour. Keon sighed. Ladies first. Very funny. She stepped onto the bridge. It groaned beneath her weight, cracks spiderwebbing across the surface. She froze, breath catching in her throat. One step, another. The ice flexed, bending like glass under pressure. Halfway across, a tremor rippled through the ground. The bridge shuddered violently. Mara! Keon shouted. She dropped to her knees, spreading her weight. The bridge held. Barely. Keep going, Keon yelled. She crawled the rest of the way, heart pounding. When she reached solid ground, she collapsed onto her back, gasping. Keon crossed next, moving slowly, carefully. The bridge cracked loudly under him, but he made it. When he stepped onto the far side, the entire structure gave way behind them, collapsing into the chasm with a thunderous roar. They stared at the empty space where the bridge had been. No turning back now, Keon said. Were we planning to? The shifting beacon. 2 hours into the walk, the beacon shifted again, this time by nearly a full kilometer. Mara stopped in her tracks. That's not interference. Keon checked his HUD. It's moving northwest, faster than before. Something's dragging it. They exchanged a long, uneasy look. Could be a malfunction? Keon offered weakly. Or someone from the base trying to reposition it. Or, he didn't finish the sentence. They both knew the base had been silent for 12 hours. No comms. No telemetry. No life signs. Whatever was moving the beacon, it wasn't their crew. The footprints. The storm finally broke, leaving the sky clear and dark. Titanfall 3's distant gas giant parent loomed overhead, a swirling mass of orange and gold. The landscape glittered under its light. That's when Mara saw them. Footprints. Large ones. Deep ones. Leading across the dunes toward the shifting beacon. Keon, she whispered. Look. He knelt beside one of the prints. Not human. Too wide. Too heavy. Any native fauna on record? Nothing this size. The prints were spaced far apart, as if whatever made them had a long stride. They were fresh. The storm hadn't had time to erase them. Mara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. Whatever it is, Keon said quietly, it's heading toward our base, and dragging our beacon with it. The second bridge. The footprints led them to another chasm, wider than the first with a thicker ice bridge spanning it. This one looked more stable, but the footprints crossed it effortlessly, barely cracking the surface. Mara stepped onto the bridge. It held. Keon followed. Halfway across, a deep rumble echoed through the chasm. The ice vibrated beneath their feet. What was that? Keon whispered. Mara didn't answer. The rumble grew louder. Then the ice beneath them buckled. "Run!" she shouted. They sprinted, boots slipping on the slick surface. The bridge cracked behind them, chunks of ice falling into the abyss. They leapt the final meter as the bridge collapsed entirely, the sound echoing like thunder. Keon lay on the ground, panting. "I hate this moon." "Get up," Mara said. "We're losing time." The geyser field. The footprints led them into a geyser field, a maze of methane vents that erupted unpredictably. Each eruption sent a column of supercold vapor into the air, freezing instantly into razor-sharp crystals. Mara checked her map. "We can't go around. Too far. So we go through." Carefully, they timed their movements between eruptions, sprinting from vent to vent. The ground trembled beneath them, warning of imminent blasts. Halfway through, a geyser erupted directly beside Keon. The shockwave knocked him off his feet, sending him skidding across the ice. "Mara!" he shouted. She grabbed his arm and pulled him behind a frozen outcrop just as another geyser erupted, showering them with shards of ice. Keon's suit integrity dropped another 5%. "We can't keep this pace," he said. "I'm losing heat too fast. We don't have a choice." The beacon stops moving. 3 hours into the walk, the beacon stopped shifting. Mara froze. "It's stationary." Keon checked his HUD. "Distance. 7 kilometers. That's close. Too close." They followed the footprints toward the signal. The terrain grew steeper, the dunes sharper. The wind picked up again, carrying faint vibrations through the ground. Mara felt them through her boots. Rhythmic, heavy, like distant footsteps. "Keon," she whispered. "Do you feel that?" He nodded slowly. "Yeah." They kept walking. The drag marks. The footprints ended abruptly at the edge of a massive ice shelf. Deep gouges scored the surface, drag marks, leading toward a cluster of jagged ice formations. The beacon signal pulsed from somewhere within them. Mara crouched beside the drag marks. Something pulled the beacon through here. Something strong, and smart enough to take our only navigation tool. Keon swallowed hard. "Why?" Mara didn't answer. She didn't want to. The ice cathedral. The ice formations rose like spires, forming a natural cathedral of frozen methane. The air inside was still, eerily quiet. Their suit lights refracted through the crystalline walls, casting shifting patterns across the ground. The beacon lay at the center of the chamber, half buried in ice, its casing dented and torn. But that wasn't what made Mara stop. It was the shape crouched beside it. Tall, thin, jointed in ways that made her stomach twist. Its limbs were long, ending in hooked appendages. Its head was smooth and featureless, except for a single vertical slit that pulsed faintly with blue light. Keon inhaled sharply. "What is that?" The creature turned toward them. The slit widened, and the chamber filled with a low, resonant hum that vibrated through Mara's bones. Part 2. The thing that walks the ice. The creature's hum deepened, vibrating the ice beneath Mara's boots. Her teeth buzzed. Her vision blurred at the edges, as if the sound were reaching inside her skull and shaking something loose. Keon staggered backward. "Mara, my suit." His vitals spiked erratically across her HUD. Heart rate surging, temperature dropping, neural feedback warnings flashing red. The creature tilted its head. The hum sharpened. Keon screamed. Mara lunged, grabbing his arm and dragging him behind a jagged pillar of ice. The hum cut off abruptly, leaving a ringing silence. Keon collapsed, gasping. It was inside my head. "I know." Mara checked his vitals. His neural interface had overloaded, frying half his suit's sensory relays. "You're not taking another hit like that." Keon managed a weak laugh. "Wasn't planning to." The creature moved. Not walking, gliding, its limbs barely touching the ground. passed between the ice spires, searching. Mara killed her suit lights. Darkness swallowed them. Only the faint blue glow from the creature's slit eye illuminated the chamber, sweeping across the ice like a scanning beam. Keon whispered, "It took the beacon." "Why? What does it want?" Mara didn't answer, because she'd already noticed something worse. The drag marks didn't start here. They ended here. The creature hadn't dragged the beacon to this place. It had dragged it out of something deeper. A tunnel. A narrow fissure in the ice behind the creature, leading downward into darkness. And from that darkness came a faint, rhythmic thudding, like footsteps, plural. The descent. The creature paused, head turning sharply toward their hiding place. Mara's breath froze in her throat. Then, a distant rumble echoed from the tunnel. The creature stiffened, its slit eye pulsing rapidly. It emitted a short, sharp chirp, almost like a warning, then slipped into the tunnel and vanished. Keon exhaled shakily. "It's leaving." "No," Mara whispered. "It's answering." The thudding grew louder, closer. Mara grabbed Keon. "We're moving. Now." They fled the ice cathedral, stumbling into the open air. The wind had died completely, leaving the landscape eerily still. Their suit lights cut across the frozen dunes. Behind them, something massive shifted inside the ice. A crack split the ground. Then another. Keon looked back. "Mara, run." They ran. The thing beneath. The ice behind them erupted. A colossal limb, jointed, pale, ending in hooked talons, burst through the surface. Shards of methane ice rained across the dunes. A second limb followed, then a head, smooth and featureless except for a vertical slit glowing with cold blue light. It was the same species as the creature in the cathedral, but this one was huge, 3 times their height, and it was climbing out of the moon. Keon's voice cracked. "That thing was underground. How long has it been?" The creature let out a low, resonant hum, the same mind-splitting frequency as before. Mara's vision blurred. Her knees buckled. Keon collapsed entirely, clutching his helmet. Mara forced herself upright, fighting the pressure in her skull. She grabbed Keon's tether and dragged him behind a dune as the creature hauled itself fully onto the surface. Its limbs unfolded like blades. Its head turned toward the ice cathedral, toward the smaller creature, toward the beacon. Then it began to walk. Each step shook the ground. Each step brought it closer to them. The dead base. They reached the base perimeter an hour later, or what was left of it. The outer walls were torn open, metal bent outward like petals. The landing pad was cracked in half. The communications tower lay toppled. Its antenna snapped. The beacon had been ripped from its housing. Mara's stomach twisted. Keon stared in horror. "Everyone, they're all." He couldn't finish. Mara didn't need him to. The base was silent. No lights. No movement. No heat signatures. Just the wind whispering through broken metal. She forced herself inside. The interior was worse. Deep gouges scored the walls. Equipment lay scattered across the floor. A trail of frozen blood led down the main corridor. Keon swallowed hard. "We should leave. We need supplies," Mara said. "Power cells, heat packs, anything. Nothing here is going to save us." "Maybe not. But standing still definitely won't." They moved through the base, stepping over shattered consoles and overturned chairs. The air was thin and cold. The life support systems had failed hours ago. In the storage bay, Mara found what she needed: 2 emergency power cells, half a crate of thermal gel, and a portable transmitter. She grabbed everything. Keon leaned against the wall, shivering violently. "My suit's failing. Internal temps down to -150. Use the gel." She tossed him a pack. "We're not dying here." He smeared the gel across his suit's damaged insulation. The temperature stabilized slightly. Then the ground shook. A deep, resonant hum filled the air. The creature was close. Too close. The crawl space. Mara dragged Keon into the maintenance crawlspace beneath the base. The metal walls vibrated with each step the creature took outside. Keon whispered, "It's hunting us." "No," Mara said. "It's searching for something. Us. Not just us." The hum intensified. Mara's vision blurred again. Her ears rang. She pressed her hands against her helmet, trying to block the sound. Keon convulsed beside her, his neural interface overloading again. The creature's shadow passed over the crawlspace grate. Its slit eye glowed through the gaps. Scanning. Searching. Mara held her breath. The hum rose to a piercing frequency. Keon's body arched violently. Mara grabbed his helmet, forcing his head down, shielding him as best she could. The hum cut off. Silence. The creature moved on. Mara waited until the vibrations faded before letting herself breathe again. Keon lay limp, unconscious. His vitals flickered weakly. She checked his suit. Suit power. 1 hour remaining internal temp. Minus 142 degrees Celsius neural interface. Critical failure. He wouldn't survive another encounter. Maybe she wouldn't either. The tunnel. The creature wasn't wandering aimlessly. It was heading back toward the ice cathedral. Toward the tunnel. Toward whatever else was down there. Mara stared at the portable transmitter in her hands. It wasn't strong enough to reach orbit, but it could reach the emergency relay satellite, if she got to high ground. Keon stirred weakly. "Mara, go. I'm not leaving you. You have to. One of us needs to get a signal out. We both get out." He smiled faintly. "You always were the optimist." She wasn't, but she refused to let him die alone. She hauled him to his feet. "We're going to the ridge. From there, I can boost the signal." Keon nodded weakly. "Lead the way." The ridge. The ridge loomed above them, a jagged spine of ice rising from the dunes. The climb was brutal. The wind returned, slicing across their suits. Keon stumbled repeatedly, each time slower to rise. Halfway up, the ground trembled. Mara looked back. The creature was emerging from the base, dragging something behind it. A body. Frozen. Shattered. Keon whispered, "Oh God!" The creature paused, head turning toward the ridge. It saw them. It began to climb. The last power cell. Mara shoved the final power cell into her suit. Her HUD flickered, then stabilized. Suit power. 2 hours remaining. Keon's suit was nearly dead. She pulled him up the last stretch of the ridge, muscles burning, lungs aching. The creature climbed faster. Its limbs dug into the ice like anchors. Its hum began again. Low, probing, searching. Mara's vision blurred. Her knees buckled. She forced herself onward. At the summit, she activated the transmitter. A faint signal pulsed upward. Weak. Unstable. She adjusted the frequency. The creature reached the base of the ridge. The hum intensified. Keon screamed, collapsing. Mara dropped beside him, shielding his helmet with her arms. The transmitter flickered. The creature climbed. The hum rose to a skull-splitting pitch. The transmitter beeped. Signal locked, transmission sent. Mara exhaled in relief. Then the creature reached the summit. The confrontation. It towered over them, limbs unfolding like blades, slit eye pulsing with cold blue light. The hum became a roar. Mara's vision went white. Her body convulsed. Keon lay motionless beside her. The creature leaned closer. The hum sharpened. Mara felt something inside her mind. A pressure, a probing, a cold intelligence brushing against her thoughts. Searching, learning, understanding. She screamed. The creature recoiled slightly, as if surprised. The hum faltered. Mara seized the moment. She grabbed the transmitter, still warm from the signal burst, and slammed it into the creature's slit eye. The device sparked violently. The creature shrieked, a sound like tearing metal, and staggered backward, limbs flailing. The hum collapsed into static. The creature toppled off the ridge, crashing into the dunes below. Silence. Real silence. Mara collapsed beside Keon, gasping. Her suit power flickered. Her vision dimmed. But she was alive. For now. The rescue. Hours passed. Or minutes. Time blurred. Mara drifted in and out of consciousness, the cold seeping into her bones. Then, a distant rumble. Not the creature. Engines. A dropship descended through the methane haze, lights cutting across the ridge. Voices crackled through her comms. Dr. Astra? Dr. Raddick. We received your emergency transmission. Hold on, we're coming. Hands lifted her. Warmth flooded her suit. Keon was beside her, still alive. Barely. As they were carried aboard, Mara looked back at the dunes. The creature's body was gone. Only deep drag marks remained, leading back toward the ice cathedral. Back toward the tunnel. Back toward whatever else lived beneath Titanfall 3. The dropship door closed. The engines roared. And the moon fell away beneath them. This is the end of the sci-fi story, The Long Walk on Titanfall 3. Leave a like if you enjoyed the story, and subscribe for more sci-fi stories. Thanks for listening.